Okay, so I'm going to talk about A Perfect Storm. Came out in 2000. It's directed by Wolfgang Peterson. He directed Troy's European director and the submarine film. It stars George Clooney, Mark Walberg, and John C. Reilly. They're a bunch of roughnecks. They live by the ocean. They work on the ocean. They're ordinary workers. Mark Walberg is a rookie. He's challenged for wages at the start. He didn't earn enough. They didn't yield enough. So out of necessity, they have to go out into the ocean to catch fish. George Clooney, who plays the prideful, obsessive captain, a version of Ahab, decides to go out and promises them they'll catch more fish. It's based on real people that did die at sea. You probably find this or used to be more common than it is. Um, the whole thing looks great. The lads are good crack. There is a weird whiff within the machismo of Wolfgang Peterson didn't quite get American bro culture, but like it's fine. The backslapping and the high fiving is fine, and the necessity to stick together and work together on a boat is just so obvious. You kind of admire it, if everybody had to work that hard together, life would be a little easier. I suppose. Um, they get going, and a ship is or a storm is brewing, of course, right? And that looms over it. They all have sentimental, schmaltzy romances that are nice. I mean, they're not cringe. They're just macho men in love with their women, and that's fine. I mean, we can kind of all identify with that, or at least want to it. It does kind of tie into. It did remind me of this new masculinity that's popping up around the world. Post Andrew Tate and all that crap. Men of action. People are flocking to the internet. Even me. To hope and make a few quid. There's one absolutely glorious sequence which is just mind-boggling, where a shark leaps up onto a boat. They fish it up by accident, and like it's breathtaking. You think Jaws, you think shark in the water, don't go in the water, that's fine. But to have a shark leap up onto the boat, no, it's not the size of the boat, but nevertheless, it's just like it steps beyond surrealism. The only thing I can think of that compares to it is if you've seen that video on YouTube of the tiger leaping from the grass out up onto the guy on the elephant. And Mark Wahlberg and George Clooney, win you over. John C. Reilly, they got the guy from True Detective and Batman, the bank clerk, are all good, effective. You feel comfortable there with them. Um, and the storm looks great, even though it's 25-year-old CGI. It's all water and a boat, and they, as far as where they filmed it on the set studio in a tank, which I think would be deadly to watch, because I seen a video recently of a film set in India where one of those tanks burst and the whole film set was destroyed. If you ever feel inadequate on set, just look up that video. Anything can go wrong anywhere. Um, George Clooney gives it its best. You can kind of see why he became a leading man. He doesn't carry the intensity of earlier macho figures, but he holds it well, and he's less manic and intense than out of touch. Um, they don't really get into why he's so desperate, which could have been interesting. But all the characters' backstories are fine. It's very enjoyable. Um, the Marines show up, or the Coast Guards, and there's some interesting sequences there. And they're likable. It's a noble job. People do actually do it. Sea rescue missions. So you kind of sympathise or identify or understand their machismo, to dive into the water to save somebody. It's just something comforting about it, albeit it's intense. And the sound of the storm clouds looming over different scenes and water capsizing into boats is always frightening. But yeah, look, it's worth a revisit, and you might find some of yourself in it if you're kind of trying to take over the world and you're a young man. But like I said, I didn't really get the whole idea of fishing to your death. That didn't sit right with me. Although it's a great story, it's like there's a sense of frustration. Why did you have to try so hard? They end up sailing into a pocket of the sea where they shouldn't. But it gets you. You sit there, you watch it, you enjoy it. It's worth looking up.